Hey guys, what's up? I wanted to open up the game slowly but surely to discussion. I'm nearing the end of my first playthrough officially, that is me physically finishing the game as opposed to just seeing it all through spoilers. And I want to do a lot of different discussions. I want to take the companions under the microscope and have a look at them. I want to talk about the gameplay. I want to talk about obviously the game in itself, do a review of the game and various different discussions pertaining to the game and role playing in general. And having said that, let us enter into the following discussion. So a short while ago, I posted a thread on the BioWare forums concerning why people choose to play only one gender or not, and just sort of quote unquote limit themselves. I made the thread just for research purposes because I wanted to understand people's motivations, at least what they believe their motivations were. And BioWare forums, as you know, it's always a limited format. The thought police is always, they're always hovering around, and so you never know when they might home in on you. But the discussion remained quote-unquote civil. No one was offended, I think, for the most part. But something interesting came up, and I wanted to talk about that in depth here. This idea of personal or self-insertion to the character. I mean, there's role-playing, self-insertion, and immersion, it seems. And it makes for an interesting discussion. Now, a lot of the things that I read in that thread really varied between only two poles. And I'm of one pole and most other people are of another. Many people, I would argue the majority, see themselves or rather see the character as an extension of themselves. That is not how I role-play the game, any role-playing game. I never have. People often ask me, Stardust, you play so many female characters, what's up with that? There's nothing really up with that. I think I do play female characters more often than male. That hasn't always been the case. I used to be 50-50. Now it's more maybe 70-30, 70%, 30%, or 60-40. I don't really know. Part of that for me is, one, I don't self-insert. I'm not playing myself. I'm not projecting myself into the character. Two, I like the challenge of creating an interesting and attractive female character. And, it's just variety, basically. There's no motivation beyond the things I've just cited. But yeah, I do not project myself into the character, but it seems many people do. Now, this idea of self-insertion, I want to tackle it. For me, rationally, it's a non-starter to begin with. Why am I calling self-insertion into a role-playing game as a character a non-starter? Well, it's simple. In Dragon Age Inquisition, you are, for lack of a better description, or rather descriptor, you are a chosen one. I mean, you are creating a massive military organization. You have this mystical mark on your hand that can close tears in the very fabric of reality, and so on and so on. This has nothing to do with reality and has nothing to do with me or anyone playing the game. The idea that you could project yourself into that situation is, for me, just personally, a non-starter. There's no way I could self-insert my personality into that, and that wouldn't. It just wouldn't follow from B. So why do I role play? People were asking me, and the reason is, well, to get a different story perspective. It's just as you might be reading a novel and appreciating the characters in the novel without actually seeing yourself in the characters. It's the same thing. Now, as far as my current character that I'm almost done with, Arya, the dwarven female rogue, I could describe her as sort of easygoing, practical, not malicious, but not really self-righteous either, or even righteous for that matter. Just kind of goes with the flow. Got thrown into the whole situation with the breach and what have you. And she just kind of takes every day as it comes and makes decisions on the whim. And if you see some of the uploads I've made, you can see she usually takes the middle joking line, and she just makes stuff literally up as she goes along, and that's kind of her personality. And I'm obviously not a female dwarf, and I'm not a female, and I don't see myself in the character. However, I can still role-play the character and appreciate the character, in this case Arya, the female dwarf rogue, the easygoing female dwarf rogue, for what she is and her personality. I mean, another thing, I plan on doing the full upload on the weekend, hopefully. but I did the dwarven Sarah romance, which was interesting because there were a lot of dwarven allusions there. And in reality, I would never go for. I have no interest in someone like Sarah. I wouldn't even want to talk to someone like Sarah, let alone romance them. I mean, she's childish, puerile, anti-intellectual. There's nothing appealing about her whatsoever. But I can still role play my character and think, these are the qualities of Sarah that Arya, the dwarven rogue inquisitor, appreciates. She's grounded. She is simplistic, but it's in that simplicity. There's something appealing about her character, and that's why I think my particular inquisitor in this case went for her as a romance option. So I can do all of that without seeing any aspect of myself in the character, and indeed, I don't see any aspect of myself in my dwarven rogue. I like my dwarven rogue. I think she's cute. I think she's interesting looking, and I think she makes for fun play because she usually takes the joking line. But I'm not my dwarven female rogue romancing Sarah. And I think that seems to be, now this is just the major example I'm giving because this is the character I've been playing the most, the dividing line between people. There are many people who are saying, I only play this. A lot of women said, I only play females because I have no interest and can't identify with the male protagonist whatsoever. And occasionally you had men saying that as well. And for me, as I said, what I don't understand is how they could even self-insert. Because it's just, for me, a non-starter. Any completely fantastical setting, be it science fiction or high fantasy or some middle ground of low magic or Conan, however you want to describe the setting, this does not map onto reality. And I'm someone who's very grounded in reality, I'd like to think. So when I'm playing the game in the same sense as I'm reading a novel, I'm trying to just appreciate the story from different angles. And, in the case of the dwarven female rogue, that's one angle. And I have planned as well a devout male Andrastian Templar dwarven warrior romances Cassandra. I think she's the chosen Andraste. I hardly would suit that role in real life. So there really, for me, this is something I cannot comprehend. I do not grasp what people mean entirely when they say they're self-inserting, because you can't self-insert something that has just nothing to do with reality. I don't see myself as an extension of the character, and I never have, even though I've appreciated so many characters. I mean, Garrus, I've always had a fondness and emotional connection to Garrus, without actually seeing myself as Shepard. Even going back to Baldur's Gate 2, Keldorn, the devoted, faithful paladin of Torm. Loved that guy. Appreciated his qualities for what he was when I played a certain kind of character, without seeing myself as the Ballspawn or a Shepard or any of these protagonists that we've come to know throughout the years. So that's still role playing. In fact, I would argue that's more role playing something that you're not, is much more role playing than seeing yourself as in the character. The character is an extension of yourself. And this is why I just don't get it. And I also, personally, this is just my opinion, find it pretty limited when people only play one gender, or for that matter, I see people on the forums, I only play female elven mages. Why on earth would you do that? Yes, you can get the entire story on YouTube from people's uploads, but it just seems so limited. And even me, I love dwarves for various reasons, and that could make a separate video in its entirety. And I plan on doing 2 entire dwarven playthroughs, but I do want to experience other characters as well. This is separate from immersion. I think immersion is something different. It's why when I was playing Skyrim, I didn't think it was okay, male or female, to run around in my knickers in the freezing cold in the north. It's why I like mods such as Frostfall that added realism and camping and fires and what have you. That is not the same thing. I mean, immersion in a game, say, such as Skyrim, gives you this feeling of not necessarily mapping onto reality, but it gives the game itself, within the context of the game, more reality, if you understand what I'm trying to say there. Dragon Age Inquisition, it's kind of a cartoony game, and so that kind of immersion is, I mean, I've talked about this before. It's just, that's also a non-starter, and there's no point even talking about that. But immersion is really a separate issue, I think, and it has that not really related to the key issue of self-insertion versus I just don't see myself as the character, but I'm still playing the character. I'm still interested in the character, and I'm still invested in the character. But it's just not something I can necessarily comprehend from their perspective. I mean, how anyone sees themselves in, I don't know, a Kunari apostate mage closing rifts, challenging an immortal darkspawn magister, it's beyond me. But I guess whatever floats your boat, right? So I thought this would be an interesting discussion. Obviously, people are different. I've explained to you my perspective and my take on things. That's how I role play. I'm not role playing myself. I never do. I'm role playing different characters, different participants in a story, as would they be part of a novel or a movie. I am not a female dwarven rogue, and I'm not a male dwarven Andrastian Templar, and I'm not any of these things. But I want to see what their perspective is, and I can understand where they're coming from. I understand why Arya, my dwarf female rogue, is laid back. I understand why she likes Sarah and why she takes the decisions that she takes in the game without me actually being her. But and I can switch between male and female once again because I don't see myself in the game. So I'm not saying I can only play a male or a female for that matter. Let's end it there. Interesting discussion. Interesting in the sense that a lot of people literally see themselves as the protagonist, and I thought that was pretty baffling, at least to me. Hope the video made some sense. Hope you enjoyed it, and let's have some lively discussion in the comment section. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.